Hi, welcome back. You never know where inspiration is going to come from. And I was watching this documentary on TV about a lioness who had adopted a baby onyx and was protecting it and protected it for as long as she possibly could before a male lion swooped in and ate the baby. I was sobbing. I was just absolutely sobbing when I was watching this, and it really impacted me. And I was able to draw from that and use that imagery in the novel as to how grandmother and would have felt in the depths of the jungles in Laos trying to protect this tiny baby. And that's where it came from. And today, on that note, we will continue on with grandmother. There in Laos, it's 1975. The communists are in power and they're chasing the Hmong out and they're trying to get to Thailand. While we concealed ourselves in the layers of jungle, I wished for us to be gibbons. I wished for long, thin arms and thin legs that had the strength to take us high in the treetops. We would retreat to the safety of the highest branches and perch ourselves far from the sight of those who patrolled below. Your thin arms could wrap around your mother's neck and your head could peek out. My dark eyes would rest upon the tall, slim bamboo stalks with pointed leaves. Then they would travel outwards. The glow of the afternoon sun would reveal what lay beneath the pillows of green that draped the landscape. Where she shone, golden hues would illuminate leaves beneath shadows of dark green, waiting for the sun to turn her head so they too could shine. Amid the green foliage, brown and white branches twisted to the surface to reveal scarred curves and threads of blue sewn in between. In the distance, the silky greenery would blur to black, eliminating the textures that graced the foreground. I wished the three of us to be creatures of the jungle. Your long, thin arms would never let go of the adult who carried you. Your mother's arms and my long, thin arms would reach out for branches, and our bodies would spring forward. We would zip from branch to branch to branch at ease in our natural habitat, not as we traveled back then, when every step was an effort and every dream a bad one. I often dreamt I was alone, left to my own devices deep in the jungle. My heart would pound so loudly in my chest, I feared that it would alert lurking danger of my presence. Even the perspiration sprinting down my bony spine seemed deafening, calling out to my predators, "She's over here." In my dreams, I was stalked by wild animals. I narrowly avoided being devoured by the sharp teeth of lions and tigers. They loomed so close I could smell death on their breath. I could see bloodstains in the corners of their mouths, and I could hear their nostrils sniffing the air, detecting my scent. The whites of their eyes scanned the surrounding vegetation, looking for me. Every time I shut my eyes, it was the same. I hid from wild animals. They stalked me. They found me. I ran from them. I hid from lions. I escaped the lions, and then it was the tiger's turn. There was a moment before each chase when we both knew I was about to be discovered. Their giant heads would turn as time threatened to freeze. and then unfreeze. The drumming of my heart accelerated, ramming adrenaline down into my feet. The beast's eyes would zoom in to where I stood hidden among banana leaves. Our eyes would lock. I lurched from my sanctuary. My predator sprung after me as the jungle smashed against my exposed body. The hunt would stop, freezing terror into every cell in my body. I hid once again, the fear of discovery haunting me, causing me to pee where I slept. Sleep after sleep, I was chased by unrelenting wild animals. With each pursuit, they got closer. I felt their bodies poise for attack and travel airborne at my back. As their claws and mouth were ready to tear into my flesh, I would wake once more, the steam from my pee rising with the cool mountain air. Sometimes the black night sparkled with tiny fireflies. My eyes followed their darting trail of light. I almost forgot I was afraid. If only they would continue to entwine their light through the sky, and I could follow their path. Perhaps they would lead me to the gibbons, and I could join them in their morning song. The clouds were thick, veiling us in another layer of black. But I did not mind. I much preferred the night, because there was some power connected with being able to move my body. During the day, we hid and listened for footsteps that were there, that could be there, that were not there. We were targets on the verge of flight. I was powerless during the day. We were fatigued, we were famished. We had been moving all night. The sun had barely risen and we had scattered, searching for roots and plants for breakfast. One of the women was cooking a pot of rice. The sound of gunfire halted all activity. Your mother did not have time to run. I saw the first shot rip her hand from her body. The second tore through her pelvis and she crumpled in a lifeless heap. I grabbed you from underneath her bloodied breast, gunfire ringing loudly in my ears. Bodies fell to the ground around me. I held you tight. I ran. I did not know where I was running to, but I kept running because I did not know what I would do when I stopped. I ran until my lungs burned and sharp knives ripped through my rib cage. Later, I went back because I wanted to close your mother's eyes. Your mother would have closed my eyes, and I knew your father would have wanted me to do so. I walked up to the pole where her head was mounted and shut the lovely dark eyes, but not before I showed her your face for the last time. I wanted her to see beauty and not leave this world corrupted by the evil that took her. I did not give birth to you, but from that day on, I held on to you as if you were my own. My anxious eyes followed your every breath. At that moment, more than any other, I felt helpless because I watched you weaken. I had no milk to offer you. Your tiny lips sucked on my shirt, but I could not help you. My throat constricted, but I could not even choke up tears. I was so alone, helpless in my love for you. All you could do was look at me with those liquid black eyes. You could not speak to me, but I knew if you could what you would have said. You would have told me how hungry you were and how you missed the warmth of your mother. For you knew, even as a tiny baby, that I was not your mother. I was the arms that held you, that comforted you as best I could, but I was not your mother. But I loved you as a mother would. I watched you, I worried for you. You were never far from my sight, from my touch. but I was not your mother. I was your defense, a weak old lady who was alone. I was to keep you safe from predators like poisonous snakes, bears, and men with guns. My spine tingled as defeat felt close. I felt my own strength weaken, and I feared for you because if I died, you would also die. When we rested, I would pretend to be a great lioness. I had a muscular torso and 4 strong legs that would transport me swiftly through the jungle. You were my cub, and you would follow alongside me. Your tiny legs would run to catch up, and when you could run no more, I would pick you up effortlessly by the scuff of the neck and carry you. Even though the jungle was full of dangers, you were full of play. Your tiny pink tongue licked at my face, and your paws pressed playfully into my cheeks. I suckled you, and there was always enough milk. Your stomach grew plump, rounded by abundance, and I could see my milk swish around your body when you scampered around a yellow coconut that rested on the ground. My heart skipped every time yours did. The other animals would not dare approach because they feared the sharpness of my claws and teeth. I was a fierce lioness, and you, my precious baby cub. But even a lioness had to sleep. Your well-being was the undercurrent of my every inhalation. And now my dreams were no longer about lions and tigers chasing me. They were about you, Bao, and my ability to protect you. Every time my eyes closed, they would open in my dreams, and I would be following your every step. My body would never be far from you, and you never strayed. We walked behind each other, my long legs slowed to keep pace with yours. We walked beside each other, lioness and cub. We walked many kilometers in my dreams and left trails of dust blowing behind us. My eyes and my heart beat for you as we moved beneath the ruthless tropical sun. At night, I lay next to you and prayed for another day. The days and the nights kept coming, and I began to grow weary. I began to feel the ache of hunger, and so did you. We were alone. I could not hunt. If I did, I could not protect you, and you would die. I normally hunted every 4 days. Today was the 16th day without food. My fur sunk in between each rib, but I could not leave you. I stayed. We fumbled our way and we sat beside each other, the hunger working its way into the rest of my body. My legs were heavy and each step begged me to lie down, but I could not leave you. When I did sit, my large head would turn and follow you, but you were never more than a step away from me. When my legs refused to move, I gave in and lay down on the road. The heat from the sand penetrated deep into my aching joints, offering some relief. You walked ahead of me. My eyes fought to close. I watched you through half-closed lids, your tiny legs moving one at a time. I was so tired. I told my legs, just one more second. I could no longer see you, but I heard you cry. It was all I could hear. Instantaneously, shock filled my eyes. My throat tightened and my stomach collapsed. Your cries rang above the humidity and punched me in the heart. I was weeping, for I did not need to see to know you were taken from me. Further down the road, there was the backside of a great lion, his long tail triumphantly swinging behind him. His dark mane circled majestically around his head. In his mouth, your legs dangled helplessly as you whimpered for me. It was the only sound I could hear. Your fear, your pain filled me. You cried for a long time. I kept thinking, you should be dead by now. But the echo of your cries still reached me, smashing my heart to pieces. I crouched, paralyzed by terror, defeated by the knowledge I could not help you. He was stronger than me. I could not save you. It was too late. All was silent except for the grief unraveling in my body. It sliced its way through every cell, bone, and organ until there was nothing left to slice, and it hurt to breathe. After the lion had left, I went to the spot where you once lay and sniffed the ground. Days passed, and I could still hear your death. The sound was worse than the sight of you covered in blood. It was worse than your blood dripping from the lion's yellow teeth and running through his gums. The sound of your death would not leave my ears. I did not want to hear it, but I did not want to let go. Grandmother, I hear Bao speak to me, her gentle voice a reminder of all that is beautiful. Do you need to rest? She asks me quietly. The pressure of her hand on mine gives me the strength to go on. No, I answer. It's important for you to know where you come from. There were 3 others who survived the attack that morning, and 16 who were killed. We never spoke about the slaughter of our loved ones. With our heads down, we walked, watching our feet. We did not talk, we did not cry, we walked. I told my feet what to do, and they listened. Do not stop, I told them. Do not look too far ahead. 1 step at a time, 1 breath at a time. Beyond was too frightful. Head down, keep moving, ignore the pain, forget the fear. We walked for 5 more days, and then I could hear the swelling of the Mekong as she rounded sandy banks. When we went into the forest, we were fully clothed and laden with supplies. When we came out, shredded fabric draped our thin bodies that were swollen from hundreds of mosquitoes that had feasted on our flesh. Our rice rations few. Most of our families gone. From my hiding place, I peered at the river bank and looked across the Mekong. It was dry season, so her waters ran low, revealing a sandied underbelly in places. On the other side of the river was Thailand. I could not believe Thailand was that close. I could see her golden pagodas peeking out above the rooftops. If I reached out, I thought I could feel her welcoming arms. Hidden by the jungle, I watched the sky and the waters melt together in a pink sheen. The colors were soft pinks, their hues so delicate, their gentleness relaxed me. I watched with a sense of calm, knowing it would be the last time I observed the sunset from this side of the Mekong. From this vantage point, it appeared as though the sun was setting over Thailand for Laos to watch. My focus shifted from one side of the river to the other, and my mind played with the thought that I was sitting in Laos and Thailand was right over there. There was a sense of disbelief and amazement all tangled up into one emotion that I could not name. I looked to the sky. All the world looked up into this very same sky. At the same sun, it shone, it set, over everyone. Yet the lives of all looking up were not the same. Circumstance dictated different experiences for all those who stood under it. But in the end, Were we not all simply individuals gazing up into the same sky, under the same sun? Should the beauty of this marvelous display of color not be available to all? We would wait until the sky turned black. I took in a breath of fresh Mekong air in the hopes of swallowing some of her spirit. I was a mountain woman who did not know how to swim. After darkness had long swallowed the sun, Thailand beckoned. My feet seemed to know it was the last time they would walk on the ground of my homeland, and they mourned the loss. But the relief of moving forward was empowering. It was a feeling I would continue to draw upon for the rest of my life. There was no hesitation. The water was smooth as glass, and I felt as though my feet would walk on its subtle surface. I took a deep breath, and you, my little bow, were fastened tightly against my breath. My heart thundered against the wall of my chest. I was fearful it would break through my skin and hurt you. I took another deep breath. The water felt cold, and the current immediately grabbed hold of my legs and swirled me dangerously as if to scold me for leaving the shoreline. My hands tightened around the bamboo poles as I struggled to keep afloat. My escalating panic alerted you, and your eyes lazily opened and shut again. Your daily dose of opium swallowed your infant cries. Today, even more than in the depths of the jungle, I could not risk detection. I knew there were communists who were patrolling the shoreline in search of an opportunity to shoot those attempting to leave. All my energy focused on getting the two of us safely across the Mekong. I had long since abandoned the fantasy that led me to the shoreline in relative calm. In my mind, I had spent hours growing courage. I had calmed the angry water, replacing torrents of white froth into a smooth surface as rocks softened by decades of monsoon drops. My feet were not walking on top of her subtle pink surface. My feet were submerged beneath, battling her. It was monsoon season, and she ran fierce. The sound of her voice gurgling angrily while bullets skipped around us like rocks. So we'll find out later what happens to grandmother and Bao. But tomorrow I will read about Isra, and we'll see what she's up to in Chiang Mai. Thank you for listening.